Hello, listeners. Welcome to this evening's edition of Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Hello, everybody.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And we talk about anything and everything under that general umbrella. We like talking about intuition, healing, all of that good stuff. We broadcast on the terrestrial airwaves on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation, because that's where CIVL, the radio station, is located. Now, we also live stream the show a week in advance because it's pre-recorded. And so you can either join, if you live locally in the Fraser Valley, you can tune in on 101.7 FM to the radio, or you can come and join my Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, or you can come and join the my YouTube channel, and then you get to watch the show being streamed live.
Yes.
Yes. Now, if you're a regular, you'll know that we have covered hundreds of topics because we've been doing this show for 7 years, and there are about over 350 past episodes that you can catch if you go to drlesliephillips.com and you go to the podcast feed, or you go to any of the major podcasting platforms. So it's a virtual library of spiritual information.
There's 756 posts.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
It's a huge accomplishment, actually. And so if you're new to the show and you're curious, go check it out, because really anything under that umbrella of metaphysics and spirituality that you might be interested in can generally be found on our podcast feed.
I would think so.
Yeah, and so, of course, every week we try to be original. Sometimes we always try to have an original angle on things. And so this week we did choose a topic that I don't think we've spoken about before, or at least
yes, we have.
At least not from this angle. And we're talking about the ego. We're talking about the ego, and the title of the show was "What is Self-Image and Ego?" And so that's what we're going to talk about. And so I'm going to talk about the ego first, I think, and then self-image, and bring the two together. So what is the ego? The ego is this worldly thing that anchors you here in the physical world when you think about it. Anything to do with the ego is to do with the world. It's part of how you function in the world. It's part of how you interact with the world, and it attaches you to the world. The ego is concerned with the world. It's not concerned with your higher being. It's something that it's actually, another way of thinking about it is it's a separation device. It individuates you. It's part of your particular flavor. It's a separation device, because everyone's ego. So if you think about it, ultimately we are one. Ultimately, we are aspects of the divine. And we come here into physicality to have an individuated experience. And the ego is part of that. It's part of how we separate ourselves and individuate ourselves one from another. Another way of looking at it is it's part of your human suit. It's a garment that you wear to be human. And it's a way that you get to animate your body with certain biases, certain flavors, certain preferences. It's part of how you show up in the world. And so another related word that we could use is your body personality. So your body personality is this thing that you bring into an incarnation. Like I was saying, a particular flavor of you, a particular variety of you. It's not everything that you are, but it's like, well, in this incarnation, I'm going to be vibrant, vivacious personality, or I'm going to be a serious kind of a person. And so it's part of the ego, and it can be positive and it can be negative. It can be, I'm setting myself up to go through certain challenges, and depending on how you respond to those challenges, you can end up layering on top of that body personality certain thoughts, emotions, and pain and trauma even. And so you're kind of born with this sort of flavor of a personality, but you continue to build it as you go. You continue to construct it as you go. And it is constructed, I would say, mostly in an unconscious way, because, like I said, you're going through different life experiences, and those life experiences teach you things like maybe when you were a child, your parents got divorced, and so you lay down a belief in abandonment. Or maybe they struggled to feed you and you lay down a belief in lack. Or maybe you were bullied at school. And so all of these different events that happen, they cause the ego construct to be modified or modulated. And so I guess we might say the ego, there's an in alignment version, as much as it can be, and an out of alignment version, meaning that I guess an in alignment version, as much as it can be, would be the version that is allowing that essence that you're wanting to project through in this incarnation. And the out of alignment version is the version that has accumulated, negative thought patterns and limiting beliefs and denied emotions and attachments and addictions and different kinds of things. So Eckhart Tolle talks about this thing called the pain body, and that's part of that self-made, self-constructed flavor or version of the ego. So the ego, I think you couldn't be here without an ego in the human experience. Okay. If you didn't have an ego, what would you be? Imagine that for a minute. You would actually just be pure consciousness, neutral. And then let's talk a little bit about this idea of self-image and how self-image relates to the ego. So self-image is kind of a projection of identity. It's a projected self. And the ego is a projected self as well. But self-image is a specific aspect. It's relating to how I want to be seen in the world. It's related to how I believe I'm being seen in the world. It can be related to that idea of I am superior because I have, I don't know, bling and a fancy haircut. It can be related to, oh, I feel inferior to everyone else. So there can be a level of competition associated with the projected self-image. So self-image, I would say, is an aspect of the ego. And it can be good or it can be harming in some way. So
that's interesting. When I looked up the topic, it was self-image is actually a synonym of ego as far as language is concerned. And I would think your image, depending on where you're looking at it from, if you're looking at it from the outside, that's the image that you want to portray to everyone else. But the image that you feel of yourself inside is where your ego comes into play. That's the way I look at it.
yeah, but I think also it can be, the ego can be conscious or unconscious. In fact, I would say it's mostly unconscious. It's mostly a level of non-self-awareness for most humans. Most humans are not walking around in a conscious state. They are thinking things
That's true.
automatically, being triggered emotionally, suffering, and chasing after, I don't know, forms of pleasure and excitement, being addicted to things and so on. So most people, it's on an unconscious level. And even those who are in the process of becoming more self-aware, where we start to notice, well, what thoughts am I thinking? What feelings am I feeling? Am I in denial of certain things? Even then, there's a portion of it that's conscious and a portion of it that's unconscious. And the goal is to become fully self-aware, to be fully aware of our, and to know the difference between, to know the true self versus the projected self. So to know the difference between thought and consciousness, because thought is not consciousness, and consciousness is who you are, and thoughts are an energy construct that is biasing you in a particular way. And so, and to become conscious of our feelings so that we don't deny them and stuff them down. And so we allow ourselves to be in a state of emotional flow. And to let go in a way of it's like that thing about being in the world but not of the world. Because when we're of the world, we're attached. We're attached to our pain, or we're attached to our pleasure, and we are, addicted in some way to certain things about the physical world. And it's not to deny your physicality. It's not to disassociate from the physical world, but it is to know yourself and to know the personality construct that you are experiencing yourself within.
So would it be a good thing, or I'm not in a judgment process, but would it be a positive thing if your ego matched your self-image and vice versa, or is that possible or not possible?
So firstly, I guess positive, negative is and fully conscious, and you have done a lot of self-healing, I would say it might approach that. But I would then also say that while you are unconscious of self and unexamined yourself, then self-image and ego are not necessarily the same thing, if that makes sense. Because you are projecting also, you're not projecting from the true essence of your inner being. You're projecting from beliefs, ideas, competition levels, and false concepts of value. So a false concept of value would be, you know, to I don't know, have a certain amount of money, look a certain way, own a certain car. I think that's part of self-image. You know, to walk in a room and say, I'm better than you because I have these things, that can be part of self-image. But I mean, you could have, I mean, pick any personality you want to examine and look at the idea of self-image. You can have a kind of spiritual ego, I guess. You know, you're a guru person that teaches something, and you have a projected self-image of yourself as an agent of peace and love. And that could be true or false, or a mixture of both. And so the idea is that to be honest with ourselves so that we're not fooling ourselves and covering up the authentic human expression with some kind of projected perfectionism. All right, let's go for a break.
Okay, that sounds good. Be back in a few secs.
Welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Hello.
Which is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And tonight we were talking about ego and self-image. And I'm happy for our live studio audience to start making comments and asking questions, actually, at this point. If there's anything you want to chime in about the ego and self-image and what your unique perspective of it is. And, you know, and also, like, what is your self-image like? What is your self-image like? What do you think about yourself? How do you feel about yourself? Are you in pain? You know, are you stuck in some kind of pattern of craving or attachment to things? What do you project about yourself, and what do you believe others perceive or project about you and your image? Because here's the other thing, talking about projections, everyone you're in relationship with has a different version of you that they see. You have a different version of everyone else based on your filtering through your personality and your biases. So we're all projecting on top of each other all the time, different images or ideas about who this person is and who that person is. And we might have a little library that we've collected over the years about, that's my mother and she's this, 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 and this. And that's my father and he's that, and that. You know? And we don't often we don't stay in present time with people. We don't allow them to change. We don't stay up to speed with who they are in each and every moment. We carry a bunch of baggage, not only about ourselves, but about other people. And then we might meet someone who reminds us of our mother, and then we'll project all that shit on top of them.
Yeah, and it's interesting because no matter who you're considering, whether it's your parents, whether it's your family, whether it's friends or strangers, you only have a limited view of what that person is. You don't have a true 100% concept because you can't see inside of them.
And for most humans, they can't see inside of themselves either.
Well, yeah.
but it's natural, right? Because we are all individuated aspects of divine consciousness. And so we actually came here to be these unique eyes of God. Nobody sees the world exactly like I do, or like you do, or like anybody else does. We all do see it differently, and it's meant to be that way. It's, we're all completely unique. It can't be any other way. And that is how we discover new things, because I might see something interesting differently than you. I might see a part of you that you haven't yet seen about yourself. And so it's this reflective quality of these individuals that we are, reflecting at one another, that helps our consciousness expand.
Interesting.
Especially if it's going in a positive kind of authentic direction. It looks like we've got some comments at least right now. So
Yep. I'll start off with the first one, and this is from Vicky. And Vicky says, "Hi, good evening. I hope you're well. I have a question. How do you stop the conflicting thoughts and know what it is you really want so it can be manifested in your life?" Thank you.
I'm just writing a little note down.
Of how well I stated that, or
Yeah. Well, and that's a great question, and it connects all of this into the idea of manifestation, doesn't it?
Yep.
Because the more you can be clear within your own self, then the more that you can manifest what is truly going to excite you and bring you happiness. So how the heck do you manage these conflicting thoughts? And the answer is self-awareness. It's by developing a spiritual practice to consciously observe your thoughts, and realizing that you are not your thoughts. Your consciousness is different than your thoughts. And so it's understanding that first of all, I am not these thoughts. So separating yourself from the thoughts. And then, and it depends actually what spiritual practice you follow. Some spiritual practices simply watch them going by, and they're in this detached state. I prefer to catch them and destroy them, to catch them and catch and release. If they are thoughts that I decide are not supporting me. And so, Vicky, I think you do know some of the techniques that I teach. And so it would be a case of using those techniques, that when you notice a thought that isn't serving you, to let that go, to release it, and to catch the thought patterns and to like stop them in their tracks, exchange them for supportive thoughts. And also, as the thoughts are coming up, you'll be able to also look at, well, I'm having this thought, so what does this thought say I'm believing about this? And so they can help you to start to deconstruct any part of your reality framework that you have built that is not supporting the result that you want to get. And so, and how do you know what you really want? It's the same thing you know, we were talking about the ego, and we were saying, well, it's oftentimes it's this constructed thing that you've constructed that's not always reflective of who you truly are. So again, it's a process through meditation of really getting to understand who you truly are. The other thing I would say is, because I know you know some of my techniques, is that you can use your techniques to look at what's true for you and what's right for you. If you have a choice between two things, you can clairvoyantly look at that choice and look at the energy of that choice, and from neutral, from the point of consciousness that you are, make the choice, instead of from the mind and the emotions that are disturbed, make that choice. So I teach people to sit in the center of the head, which is the seat of consciousness, the seat where spirit sits in the human body, and look out from there. And that will give you your answer of what is the choice for you and what's the one that you truly want. Because when you sit there, you sit apart from the thoughts and the intellect and above the emotions. Whereas you sit anywhere else in your system, then you're embroiled in those things. So, and then, you know, to manifest what you want, it's a case, again, of dismantling all of those vibrations that are not supporting what you're wanting. It's a process of healing yourself and raising your vibration and revealing more and more of the authentic you, so that you are shining through this body in the purest form possible. All righty, next.
Mm-hmm. You know, I was just thinking, one of the areas that ego and self-image and things come up, not in everybody, but in a lot of people. If you look at Facebook and the little icons that people put, the pictures of themselves. I mean, some people put cartoons, some people put their cat, some people put their this. And when you look at those things, those are substitutions for who they are. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Yes,
supposed to be your physical identity, which is probably different from your self-image and your ego, but it can reflect the self-image and ego.
it can. And you know, even if you show a picture of yourself, a lot of people will show a younger picture of themselves. And even
Good
if you
point.
are on Zoom or something, you can enhance your appearance. I think if you're on Facebook, you can make it look like you're wearing makeup, and if you're on Zoom, you can soften yourself to, you know, brighten yourself up. So it's actually an interesting new phenomenon in our culture, that everyone has the opportunity to present themselves in these ways to others. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
And
I sit all day talking to people on Zoom, and I have my Zoom set on enhance appearance. And also with the lighting turned up, so I don't always have to put my lighting on. And then sometimes I go upstairs in the bathroom and see myself in the mirror. And it's a shock. This is like loads and loads and loads of people are doing this kind of thing now.
I know in the acting field, many people do it. They
Used
have
to
the
be
enhancement.
airbrushing in magazines, but now we've all got airbrushing at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think and because of social media, we all are and the internet, we're all so out there, and self-image, our image is very strong, like as far as what we want to portray, but doesn't reflect who you are. I guess the dating sites are another good example of that.
Oh, yes. Not
Yeah.
that I've ever been on one, but yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine. Ah,
Okay.
notice we've got someone who's concerned with image watching the show. Our old neighbor Joyce. Hello, Joyce. You can chime in on self-image, I think. Joyce makes nice clothes for people.
Oh yeah, she's extremely talented.
Yeah.
None of it fits me, but extremely talented. She makes a lot of clothing for children, and she does beautiful stuff. And she's also weaves. Or I don't know if she's still weaving or not, but she weaves.
Mm.
Nice to see you, Joyce.
Yeah, shout out for Cozy Coats. There you go.
Yeah, Cozy Coats.
I think that's still your business name.
Yeah.
All right. So
Okay, next question. And the next question is from Katie. Katie says, I have had some mysterious intermittent pain in my lower abdomen, and I have a feeling that it's stress related. Does stress have to do with our ego? Would you be able to take a look, please?
sure, I'll take a look. Does stress have to do with our ego? I would say, yeah,
I would definitely
it
say yes.
does. Because just think about what we were just talking about. We were just talking about how we can have these negative thought patterns, and so let's see, what are we typically doing when we're stressed? We're worried about something, right? Maybe we have to live up to an expectation. Maybe we're afraid of something. And so yeah, we are not in that at oneness state with our who we truly are. We're in some kind of projected all versions of reality are self-projected versions of reality. Everything that you're looking at in your reality is being created by you, whether you like it or not. And so you're in some self-imposed projected version that is causing the stress. But let's take a look, Katie, at what the pain in the lower abdomen might be to do with. I'd almost feel like I'd like to ask you some questions, and maybe they're not the kind of questions that I want to ask on the radio show, but so let's see if we can just look at it. Let's look at it in an emotional level. But of course, if you've got any physical pain or anything, you might always, want to go get it checked out at the doctor. So I'll see if I can pick up on anything on an emotional level. I think this one would take me a bit longer to look at. I think that there's something to do with blocks to your creative aspect. And certain frustrations about maybe how you would have liked things to go, or how you would have liked your life to go. Certain things that have or haven't happened, perhaps in the way that you originally thought. And so it feels like it's interesting. It feels like there's some blocked kind of energy there. And you're showing me as a symbol these sheets of writing, but they're almost like esoteric symbols, which is kind of weird. But I think it has to do, And it's funny that we were talking about manifestation in the previous question, because I think it has to do with your creativity. Anyway, you know where I am if you want a longer reading on that one, because that one just looks like there's a few layers to it. It might take a while to pick apart. Might need a bit more time than just what we've got here. Next. I think you're muted, Corey, because I can't hear you.
Here I am. I don't know how that happened. I think that our next question is, how long will the break be?
Oh, not very long, a few minutes. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back. You're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Hello, everybody. Well, you asked for it.
So,
It's my new image.
yes, mine too. So, yeah, what other questions have we got from our listeners?
Oh, all kinds of wonderful ones. Let's look at what's next on the list. This is from Lorraine. So self-images are all emotions.
No, that's part of it. Part of it. Part of it. It's so self-image is a kind of a mental projection, actually, wouldn't it be? A mental projection or interpretation. So you can be projecting this idea of who you are as a self-image, and then it's, you know, here's this picture of me, then I want you to believe this about me. Or it can be emotional in part, because you can be believing, oh, I suck, oh, I'm awful, oh, nobody likes me, and then that's kind of what you're projecting, that emotional flavor. So it's the ego, self-image, it's the constructs that are containing what you're thinking about yourself, what you're believing about yourself, how you're feeling about yourself, all of those things. Next.
Oh, so this is from Katie again, and she says, what do we do with emotions that we don't understand or can't explain? Bury them really deep.
Just simply allow them to simply feel them and allow them to flow through you. You don't need to attach a meaning to them. You don't need to know what they mean. You just need to allow them. It's my favorite sort of way of thinking about emotions is about the clouds. The clouds, they just float across the sky. They come and they go. They're here, then they're not. Think about a toddler, a child who they're just screaming in anger, jumping around and laughing, crying, you know, from one minute to the next, because their emotional body is in a state of flow and they are allowing their emotions. They haven't learned to censor their emotions. Most of us adults have learned to censor our emotions.
I'm sorry. I found that humorous.
Or deny them, I don't know. And so yeah, okay, you just have to let them happen. Feel them. And they'll change. And then you won't need to worry about it anymore. So don't let them perplex you, because that's what we do as well. It's like, well, I'm feeling this. Well, it must have to do with that, or must be caused by that person. But maybe it's not, you know. Just feel it and let it flow through you.
Next, this is from Karen. Karen says, I don't feel comfortable in my body with excess weight, and this seems to stop me from going out and buying clothing. Silly, really, but why would someone seem to let this control their daily life? It seems to be so much deeper than ego for me, perhaps a bleed through from a past life.
Wow. Let's have a look. Well, I think part of it is a protection mechanism. And so, will you tell us in the chat whether you were you bullied or picked on in any way? Did you get unwanted attention in any way when you were younger? I'm seeing a picture of you sort of just wanting to shrink and not be noticed, and then being noticed. So I feel like part of it is some protection against being picked on. And then, so underlying it is low self-esteem, which is the feeling that I guess the person or persons picking on you gave you, or you had. So it feels like that's what it is to do with. And I think that weight can be due to different underlying reasons. But in this case, I think it has a lot to do with the past and a lot to do with what I call pastime programming, which is how you, what you programmed your ego, see, we'll use that word, to believe about yourself, given the experiences that you were going through when you were younger.
Yeah, she says she doesn't remember much when she was younger.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm seeing, and it feels like it's maybe a male or masculine figure, either a father or even a teacher in school, something like that. Looks more like a teacher to me, actually, or someone that puts themselves in the position of teaching you how to be, how to behave yourself and what to do. Also, I hope that gives you some insight. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your answer. Next question is from Brian. Brian says, I've actually heard a lot of people complaining of abdominal discomfort lately. I wonder if it's something bigger going on.
Maybe I could look at that, Brian. Yeah, I've been getting lots of people with shoulders. Oddly enough, I have, yeah, the abdominal thing too. So, well, let's take a look. What's going on with people? And maybe I'll get something and maybe I won't. Let's see. Maybe we can give a generalized answer. I definitely feel that there's, and there kind of always is, but a transformation going on. And that it's like letting go. The image I'm getting in response to your question, Brian, is like, and I think this is different than Katie's answer, to be honest, but it's like sludge, old slime. if we're looking at the idea of the digestive system, it's like maybe it's shit that we've put up with, things that we haven't let go of, that so there's an invitation to release. And again, it's always so that we can become more of who we are. Next.
Well, that's all the questions we have on the board right now.
Really?
Like. Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yes, it's interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah. I know ego was a very interesting topic, I think, and people don't they don't really. I mean, we touched on it last week on our show as well. And that's what sort of led me to it a little bit. Brian says sounds like a detox. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it
so.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we all have these bouts of egomania, and then that being, oh, I'm wonderful, and the other side of that is, oh, I'm garbage, I'm garbage, I'm wonderful, I'm garbage, I'm garbage. And that roller coaster ride is, I think it's one of the toughest things we do. One day, wonderful. One day we're wonderful, in our own eyes, and the next day we're terrible in our own eyes. And it is one of the hardest things to contend with, that emotion, that that negativity, and even the positive. It's
Yeah.
very difficult being. Um, I mean, it's very tough being. Oh, I'm so small. I'm so small. But it's also tough being. I'm so big. I'm so big. I mean, look at our friend Trump in the States, who's we did a show on ego, and he was our picture of it. And it's a tough road.
Yes, and neither of those extremes is true, really.
Yeah. Denise here says something interesting. She says freedom from yourself to be yourself.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
it is a good one.
Yeah, and that's very true. It's exactly what we're looking at here. I
Yes.
think it's one of the hardest things to do.
So I'm just thinking about that roller coaster ride that you were talking about. Um, that sort of ups and downs of polarity. The meditation techniques that I teach people are to help them to be in charge of their energy, so that they don't have to dip down into self-hatred, and so on. But on the other side of it, there is also this idea of follow your bliss, follow your joy, choose what excites you. And often people deny themselves what they want because there's some reason that they think they can't have it. Some reason that they feel that they can't choose it. So it's like, oh, I'm happy. No, but I can't have that.
Yeah, but that comes down to, I mean, we did a show on manifestation, but on a tweak on manifestation, which was responsibility. I mean, we want to manifest, we want to do all these things, set intentions, do all these good things, but there's so much. It's not all out there. A lot of it's in here too. It's about feeling responsible and being responsible for doing the things you want. And I think, especially with manifestation, it's all about creating creating the world, creating yourself to be able to create the world around you. If
Yeah,
that came out right.
I think it did. So
Okay.
I see that there's another
Yep.
message.
Brian. And let me just get that here. Okay, he says, I guess my self-image is something I just don't give much conscious thought about. Kind of like my age. I usually have to think about it when asked, because I guess I don't really identify with it. Occasionally, I've seen or observed the unconscious patterns for sure, but they're shifting so fast.
Yeah, and I like that idea of not identifying with age. See, a lot of these things that we identify with and label ourselves with, then that causes a certain reality as a result. And so we are all eternal spirit wearing flesh suits, right? We're all eternal beings, we're ageless. And so, and we can be, we're eternally creative, but there's no reason why we can't create and have fun in these bodies. You know, and so I think that's great that you don't identify with your age, because I think any of us, if we think about it, you feel the same inside, don't you? No matter what age you are, you're still you. But then society has a projection of, whether you're young or you're old, what that means about you, what that means you are, and so. Yeah, I always remember, and this is an anecdote from the radio station, because we used to broadcast live from the radio station, and so there'd often be a show on before our show, and we'd listen to bits of it. And there was somebody being interviewed. I don't remember what it was about, but it was some technical thing, like an app or something. And they said, "Oh yes, well, old people, anyone over 40. Of course, they don't get this." So there's all these stereotypes, isn't there? And about, what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. And it's funny also seen through different ages of people as well. If you're a 20-year-old, then a 40-year-old is an old person, who, but we're just all, doesn't matter what age you are. So thank you for sharing that, Brian.
Yeah, it's interesting. Age, as you age, things change. I was talking to some seniors today, and about that, like things change, and you don't, certain things you care about and certain things you don't care about anymore, and some things replace other things. And they all were, yeah, and they kept coming up with some interesting comments that I'll keep to myself right now. But and then you look in the mirror, and I go and I play cards at a senior center with a bunch of seniors, and I went there just for, to do something and also enjoy some crib. And then I realized I'm sitting there and I go, hey, I'm one of these guys. I'm older. I'm getting up there. But it is, I still look at myself as being that maybe 18-year-old, 19-year-old, full of self-assurance and emotional pains and all those things. But that's the way it is. Well, folks, that's actually
It's a wrap. Is
not
it?
quite a wrap, because that's the last thing you'd say, but it's close to a wrap. Yeah.
Yeah, so well, and I've been saying this at the end of every show lately. Please do send in your suggestions of what you'd like us to talk about. And thank you to one or two people did send in their suggestions. One was to talk about aromatherapy, and I don't know, I kind of have to maybe get a guest on to talk about that. I mean, I could talk about it, but I'll think about them. Maybe you can vote whether you want us to talk about aromatherapy, or if you've got any other ideas that you'd like us to talk about.
Thank you, Dr. Leslie. Bye all.